Rookie of the year. Closet is to do something magical again. There it is again. The World Championship Final. Do you believe it?
Rolling, ready, and action.
So are you excited for LCS?
It is an end of an era.
So many of those that kind of had an iconic hold within the scene are gone.
The Age of Gods has ended.
Copy that. I've given him the note to be more casual.
What's that mean? Do you think you can save LCS?
Yeah, it. I'll save LCS.
It's time for a new LCS.
Tactical, FBI, Spica. These rookies are hungry for success.
People say you might be the next great.
I'm not really worried about anyone else. I don't really think about them that much.
Tactical is doing everything.
I want people to fear me. Definitely coming for the trophy.
Are there any other junglers in the LCS that are going to be better than you?
No. 2021 is going to be about domination.
This isn't just a new year. It's a new game.
This is your new LCS.
This year, they're coming for blood. Welcome everyone to the LCS Lock In, where some teams are already on the brink of missing the knockout stage. Let's find out which squads step up to the plate in the final moments of our weekend's action. I got Mark Z, I got Crumbs. Emily, I hope you've been having a great time your first week here on the LCS.
I have. I'm shocked at the positive response. I was expecting everyone to just hate me off the bat, so I was preparing to be like, I'm going to improve. And I actually think there's a lot of ways I can improve. But thank you.
A very common mindset for League of Legends players. I mean, Mark and Crumbs are furniture on the desk at this point, so they don't get nothing special. But I do want something special from Twitch chat, though. That may be the first time I have ever said that. So here's the thing. I need the help from the viewers at home. Right now, I want you to spam in Twitch chat the answer to this question. Who is a must-ban champion in the current meta? We'll be tallying those up until the start of the next commercial break, so keep them going. We are watching. Analysts have no idea what the heck I'm talking about, so I think I'll get to something that they do know more about, which is what's been going on in yesterday's games, because they didn't exactly maybe go in the plans of all of those predicting, but definitely in line with the LCS script. So with more games under our belt, Mark, what do you make of it all?
I mean, I think the one thing we learned is that we definitely overreacted to day one, because day two went the complete other direction. Everything that happened then is really what's going to be what we expect from now on. I mean, every single team basically flip-flopped in reverse. C9 picked up a win. Dignitas lost. You know, it was a complete reversal basically of day one. And I think it just shows that, you know, like, hey, we are playing best of ones. It's early in the season. There's subs. You know, it's a tournament where people are going to be experimenting more. Definitely give some time for teams to, you know, figure out what they're trying to do here. TSM bounced back as well in a really crazy game. So like it was definitely a good day two to kind of upset day one and show that, like, hey, we're all still in the learning phase right now.
And as people are kind of trying to pick it up into this, you know, you're kind of expecting a bit of that, grab a game here, maybe lose a game there. But there is one team, Crumbs, that hasn't really fallen into that wishy-washy spot.
Yeah, we thought it was 100 Thieves, but it turns out it's Evil Geniuses who is actually the top dog right now. They look really good in their 2 games, being very decisive, being able to take down Cloud9. And one of the things that I think they're doing that allows them to be so much better than the competition already at the start is that their drafts make a lot of sense. They play off of existing synergies that these champions already have. So you've got Zoe, Nidalee, Jhin. We already saw a lot of this around Worlds last year. Long-range poke, engage, non-ultimate reliance that really allows you to siege and eliminate the opponent. Take a look at the deer right there, Lilia. She's going to be the target of what happens. She's going to feel the entire wrath of this composition. She's thinking, oh, maybe the minion wave is going to come up. I might be able to Q this, get a little extra CS. No.
Ow.
That's a solid draft, and that's players playing to the strengths of the draft. That's what EG's doing. That's better than the other competition, and that's why they look so good.
Nobody told Lilia that it was hunting season, apparently.
Yeah.
And Crumbs, I feel like they really are on the side of EG, kind of playing into the strengths of these players, some of them that we haven't seen for some time.
Yeah, and we have seen the Renekton coming back as well, being paired with Syndra, so high burst, very easy for the Graves to walk around to the solo lanes. So many times we see Graves with maybe like an Orianna into the mid lane, not a lot of setup. They set them up, and they also have a Galio, which I know Emily has a lot to say about this pick, especially in the support role.
Yeah, so I do want to touch upon Camille Galio a bit because we've been seeing it a lot. I mean, last night we saw it in LPL and LCK. It's been met with different amounts of success. We saw Golden Guardians pull it out, and I actually really like it for Golden Guardians, not because I think it's better than TSM's composition. I actually think TSM's composition is objectively better, but I like the thought process behind it, right? Like, you're going to play around Niles. You're going to have, it relies a lot on Iconic getting him ahead on the Talia, and I like that they are relying on these players, and they know exactly what they want to do when they get into game. Then we had, obviously, Dignitas pulling it out with the Yone-Samira combination that they used in their win on the previous day. I think one of the reasons why it didn't work out is because they ended up locking in Karthus, which is actually kind of great. Karthus has, for people who don't know, a remarkably fast clear to the point where you can do like challenges around how you can clear the fastest with Karthus. But what ends up happening is that Joey actually spoils the entire thing with a roam mid along with Potluck that kind of disrupts everything, despite the fact that Dardoch does get a really fast clear off. I like that Camille Galio isn't an auto win, right? Because it's an easy composition to execute. I think it does work well in certain situations, but I like the fact that you do have to really think about how you want to play around. And, you know, maybe with that Gragas pick, Dignitas might have wanted to pivot away from the Camille Galio a bit. That's just my opinion. I love the Gragas pick from IMT, and I know we'll talk about it later too.
You've got my brain spinning, Emily. I feel like we have to forget about Scion Speedway and now have some kind of Karthus clear challenge here on the broadcast.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I love it. Coming up with new ideas right on the spot. But I do want to take a look a bit deeper into some of the individual play. We are returning on the broadcast with our Samsung SSD Fast 5. This is where we will be looking at the top performers from individuals within their roles. Anybody that recognizes this from last season will see familiarity with the stats, except for the mid lane, which has now been changed to fastest mythic item.
We have Insanity up there, which is, I mean, he plays his lane like his namesake, right? Which I really appreciate. I really appreciate that about him, actually. It's kind of surprising to see him up there to fastest mythic along with, you know, staples like PoE and Jensen. But I'm really looking forward to seeing what we can see out of Insanity this split.
And we have in the jungle category a returning member to the under 6 minutes level 6 junglers from Blabber. Last split, if you remember, Blabber was just steamrolling through these records when Cloud9 was really playing the Olaf jungle, piloting it with a Galio so many times. And here, once again, he didn't even play Galio. This time was actually on Kindred, hitting it before level 6. And that's a really big deal on these level 6 junglers that will want to have these huge dives in the bottom lane or just start team fighting early on. So Cloud9, despite being 1-1, still have a very solid jungler.
Yeah, in the bot lane, support item, transformation. It's one of the ones that I want to track about just with meta changes and item changes and whatnot. Afro has a really fast time already. It would have been #1 from last year as well. But I wonder if that is, you know, like I said, meta or not. So we'll have to see if other people join him and what happens over the course of the season as this updates.
Yep, some of those names have been on there in the past. I mean, even looking at the bots specifically, Tacticals, Ven, FBI, all returners. But looking at the teams on a larger scale, let's get a reminder of how they all stack up, because in Group A, each team is going into day 3 with 1 win apiece, and we'll see who ends up coming out ahead after we wrap up our 5 games. But over in Group B, EG sits pretty at 2-0, while C9, Dignitas, and Immortals try to break out of that 1-1 territory. I know some were maybe expecting some other 2-0s, but we only have 1 thus far for the teams in these standings. And the schedule for the matches that we have lined up today, because guess what? We have 5 a day for all 3 days we have of the LCS broadcast. The younger talent of Immortals aim to take down Cloud9 at the top of the day. Then we got a clash between tournament favorites 100 Thieves and Team Liquid, with 3 more matches before we call it a weekend. Crumbs, any of these matches stand out in your mind as what you are gluing your eyes to most?
Ooh. Yeah, actually, TSM versus CLG, the old Classico. That's still, no matter, the times and the players have really changed, but the fact that these two organizations are still battling out, and I think they find themselves at equal power footings thus far. I think the 2 games that they've shown have had both highs for both teams and pretty low lows too. So I actually am really looking forward to seeing how this new era of TSM versus CLG rivalry pans out.
I feel like it has to be TL 100T. Like, I want to see if 100T can bounce back from yesterday. Still think they're going to be a really good team, and they showcased good coordination in their first outing. So that is the matchup for me today.
Yeah, I feel like a lot to prove on that side after suffering a defeat at the end of the day for them. And Crumbs mentioned kind of those big ticket organizations with TSM and CLG we've seen time and time again. We got some big ticket players that we have been talking about throughout this weekend as well. And I'm sure with today's matchups that we could touch on somebody with the World Championship title or somebody with a multi-million-dollar buyout. But I actually want to focus on the players that those in the fans should not be sleeping on. So, Mark, who do you think everybody should be looking to?
I think one of the people I'd want to highlight is Newbie. This is a player that is on Golden Guardians, and they've kind of been billed as a developmental roster, and that's a fair, accurate, description of them. But there are players on here who don't fit into all the same buckets. Niles and Iconic coming from Collegiate is different than a Blaze Olive, who has been in Academy for a long time, which is different than Newbie, who has actually been one of their best players so far throughout this tournament, and has a long history in South America. He's played a ton of splits. He's gotten playoffs nearly every single time. He's won multiple championships down there. And so, this is not a player that you should look at and go, oh, new player, I wonder how he's going to adapt. He's new to a new region, but he is definitely an import for a reason. He's very good, and I think combined with Stixay will bring a lot of stability going forward over the course of the year for this roster that I just don't want to see him lumped into like, oh, it's 4 new guys. It's like, well, Newbie's not really new despite the name.
Titles are titles in the end, right? It allows you to really develop that mentality to keep the nerves calm. So we got one support player coming in for Mark. Crumbs, who you got?
It's Joey. Joey has been playing in the LCS since a few years back. He was on Clutch Academy, and he was very good about roaming and finding timings to affect the rest of the map and being a strong initiator. So when I saw Joey just completely body Soligo, I knew that this guy was back. Soligo had nightmares that day about Nautilus hooks just coming out from his own base and taking him out of the team fight, and Joey just ran over that game. And I want to highlight him and these specific stats too, those assists per game, because that puts him 3rd of top assists per game behind Core JJ and Ignar, who are some of our best supports, especially when it comes to hard engaging. Right now, meta is really favoring this kind of play style, so seeing Joey, a rookie player, getting a bigger opportunity to show that, hey, I can do the things that our best supports can do is a really good strength that I'd love to see a team like Immortals just keep building on that and see what we can get from a support like Joey.
Talk about making the most of the LCS game opportunities that you get. It seems like it's turning into a bit of a support segment here. Emily, you got some more of the same or something different for me?
I have more of the same. I have another support, and it's Diamond, who I think has kind of flown under the radar in a lot of the C9 Academy players that we've bumped up and have been, more of a focus, even since, you know, Blabber got bumped up. I mean, Diamond has been in the C9 Academy system since late 2018. Every time I talked to him, he helped out teams at Scouting Grounds a couple times when I was shadowing those teams. He has a really good understanding of the game. I've been looking forward to seeing him in LCS. Obviously, his numbers and FlyQuest performance have definitely not been what he would want and what the team has wanted thus far, but I really hope that he can step up and kind of be a leader alongside Licorice when we're looking at this team playing with their full roster.
All three solid players that everybody that's watching should keep their eyes on for their future LCS performances. For now, we are going to head to a bit of a break, but remember, in Twitch chat, we do want to hear what you have to say about the question we posed earlier. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to LCS Countdown. I have a huge smile on my face because the producers have finally satisfied my deepest desire. We had Jat Stats, we've got ourselves some Jeopardash, but I finally have my own LCS quiz show. And introducing to you all for the first time, According to with La Tigress. Now the premise is simple. This isn't about trivia, but rather opinions from 3 trusted sources: Twitch, Twitter, and TSM's newest support, Sword Art. So the analysts are going to put themselves in the minds of our fans and pros to answer the prompt. Analysts, are you ready for question number 1?
Yeah,
I'm
always.
so bad at this. Let's go.
2 very different reactions from Crumbs and Emily, but I'm going to go ahead and hit y'all with the first one. So, according to Twitch chat, what champion is a must ban in this meta? Remember, Twitch chat are the ones that spam their answers in the chat, so you gotta think.
I assume a cat jam is not allowed to be the answer, is it? Is the flavor of the month emote?
I mean, it hasn't appeared in the game, so would that mean the most spam?
Maybe it's Yumi? No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're close with
Well,
the
we
Wise,
know-
though. Yone might be up there, but he did get a little nerf. There's not that many people play him, though, so I think some silly champion that has to have a very high play rate. I think that's a big criteria here.
I have my answer.
Yeah, I mean, in LCS, it's Olaf and Pantheon are permabans, but I don't know if Twitch chat is going to say that.
No. All right, I'll give my answer first. I'm 100% on Akali. It's close to permaban status globally, and it's just one of those champs that people hate playing against, which I think for Twitch chat, like, they're going to be a little biased to their own experience.
That's a good call.
Might have been
I
your.
agree.
That's the best answer I've heard in a while, Mark. That's good.
Wait, you guys can go with your own answer.
I'll take it. I want your answer.
Well,
I
I'm
want
going to
it.
guess like Pantheon, and everyone's going to be like, no, Emily, you're an idiot.
Not it was the big brain answer. Are you locking into Pantheon, or you got somebody else in mind, Emily?
I'll go Pantheon. You know what? I'll go Pantheon. Let's go.
All right, Crumbs, squeeze it in.
Akali as well.
Akali? Ah, wow. All
See,
right.
it's not even in the top 5.
What I take from that is Olaf and Pantheon not being here means y'all weren't big brain enough for this Twitch. But, I mean, Samira making it into that #1 spot. Mark, I guess you were closest with Akali, huh?
I guess so, but I'm still not very satisfied. I mean, I'm surprised Samira's that high. I know she's
forgot.
annoying. I know Gale Force is annoying, but I'm still, you know.
Yeah, like, she requires more coordination to shut her down, so I think maybe that's why in solo queue it always is a little harder. But also, people take a long time to read patch notes. She got nerfed way harder, so I don't think she actually needs to be that permaban.
Maybe people are banning it like against their own team. Like, I don't want you to play.
Definitely done that before. But I'll move on from that one then on that note. So we got our mind of Twitch chat at the ready. I'm ready to get into Twitter. So according to Twitter, who do you predict will be the Rookie of the Year? Note I want to make for our analysts here is this was actually posed before the Lock In Tournament happened, so I don't know if y'all think maybe there'll be some differing in opinions from now compared to back then.
So there's only
these are the 4 faces?
That's what I was going to ask, is there's only 4 pictures here, but does Fudge qualify as a rookie? Because, I mean, he played in the OPL a lot. He made Worlds with the OPL teams. Is he a rookie?
I'm pulling up my trusty list. He is not considered part of this. So, you know, we got Diamond, Niles, Revenge, Iconic, Palafox, Blaze Olive, and Neo are your choices for this one.
Okay. I feel like Golden Guardians are going to struggle a lot this year, which makes it hard to think that they'll get Rookie of the Year, just because people are pretty results-oriented.
I'm going to hop on the bandwagon that Emily constructed earlier today about revenge and say, hey, out of the picture I saw, hey, he was doing really well. He's playing a new champion, right? New meta champion for Graga's top. AP, tank, doesn't matter. He's doing really well in solo queue consistently, which is something that is important for players to maintain that consistency throughout the year, because this is Rookie of the Year. We're going to have to review this in months down the line, so I'm going to put my eggs on the guy that has guaranteed himself to be able to always play solo queue every year without tilting. Revenge for me.
All right, Crumbs.
I feel like
revenge.
I feel like Twitter is going to look at Palafox and the Blaze Olive because they're the two. Like, if Fudge doesn't count, they're the two that I feel like people have been waiting to debut out of this group of people. I say that having brought up Diamond earlier because I think he's flown under the radar in comparison to some of these other players. So between those two, I'll go Palafox.
I forgot about the whole Twitter angle. I'm glad Emily reminded me. Who has the biggest Twitter following? I'm pretty sure it's Revenge, so I'm going Revenge. Oh, he's not even on there.
No!
What?
Oh my God.
They're former C9. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's it. Crumbs. I mean, you were casting Academy all this day. I feel like the hype around Cloud9 Academy was pretty high, no?
It was, but it was so much of it felt like it was focused around Fudge. Diamond really got a little bit of that hype. Palafox got some of it, but to see it be so drastic here, not surprising. Cloud9's got a lot of fans.
I mean, Emily had made the note about a Blaze Olive. He did squeak his way onto here. I know GG making a splash, as you noted, even though they didn't quite get the victory yesterday, still making an impression. All right, Twitter. I mean, followings definitely do make a play into this. Got one more question for you all. This comes from a specific player. According to Sword Art, what is the most important role in the game right now? I feel like you really have to consider the player's personality for this, right? Are they just going to name their own or actually think about it?
No player ever.
It's not top.
It's not top, and no player ever says their own.
I'm going to say he's going to say jungle, and then I'm going to get it wrong, and people are going to be like, you don't go Sword Art.
It's jungle or mid for sure. Oh, maybe AD. AD does feel pretty overpowered in the meta. I'll take mid because it just feels like the most classic answer. Mid.
What do you think? So Sword Art's a guy that's all about cheering up the team, getting everybody together, rallying them up. So what kind of attitude could he bring to looking at League of Legends and saying, hey, this is the role that affects everybody the most? Like, to me, that just sounds like jungle. It's written all over it, right? Getting everybody hyped up, everybody on the same page. That's what a jungler does. That to me is Sword Art. Maybe it's his secondary role.
Are you locking into jungler, Crumbs?
Yes. Yeah.
You got jungle, Emily, Mark?
I also got jungle.
I said mid.
All right, so mid, jungle. That's what our analysts have locked in. According to Sword Art, what it could be, let's find out. It's also interesting at this point in the season, I feel like, when obviously metas are developing.
You know, it's also funny. It's never been top on AD. No one's ever said through the history of League of Legends the most important roles are those two.
Well, we actually have a video answer from Sword Art, so let's find out what it is.
I think jungler is the most important role in this meta, because if your jungler get the early advantage, you can easier to control Dragon and Herald. Also, you can invade enemy jungle to snowball faster.
2 out of 3 of our analysts are
good choice. Good choice, Sword Art.
Nice. It was obvious.
I also agree that jungle is the most important role.
Everyone hates junglers.
It's true.
So obvious,
it's
Mark.
True. Even the junglers themselves hate themselves. You have to be responsible for keeping your own hatred, because if you don't do it, it's going to be too painful when it comes from the outside, from your own teammates.
Man, that was a lot of fun getting to hear from Sword Art, as well as those of you on Twitter and Twitch. Thank you all for participating here on the Analyst Desk for our first edition of According to with LaTigress. I do want to hear your feedback from the fans, so make sure you share with me on Twitter what you thought, what you want to see out of the segment. We really want this to become your own, so send it my way. But in the meantime, we do have a match coming up very soon between Cloud9 and Immortals. Crumbs, what do you think people have to look forward to?
Okay, so if you're looking into this game, we're still hoping to see Cloud9 ramp up, but there's a matchup in the mid lane that is really exciting because you get to see a player like Insanity that continues to play quite wild against Perks. So you have a lot of new players that get to measure themselves up against these players coming in from overseas that are really stellar. And with Insanity being the kind of guy that's not afraid to take a lot of risk, I think we actually get to see a really potentially thrilling mid lane matchup, which is not something I would have expected to say of Perks versus basically first-year LCS player.
And then I'm actually looking at the top lane. We mentioned Revenge previously. I mentioned how much I really, really specifically loved the Gragas pick in response to presumably that Dig were going to lock in Camille Galio, and they did. I thought it was a great response. I love the top lane Gragas. This actually probably shouldn't have happened in this matchup, but you know, good for Revenge for coming out and proving people wrong, right? Because people were saying, you know, he can only play in solo queue, et cetera, and he's had really good showings in these Gragas games. So good job.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of criticism thrown his way of like, oh, there's more deserving top laners in Academy that they thought should deserve the chance. One of them was, you know, Fake God, slammed him yesterday. Now he's going up against Fudge, who was kind of the unanimously considered top lane, best top laner in Academy. And so this is a great opportunity for him to take down another person that people consider better than him. He's having a better lock-in so far. Fudge has been camped a fair amount. You can see the jungle proximity difference kind of going the enemy's favor, but he has been taken advantage of a little bit, and so he kind of needs to step up a little bit more here, and hopefully has a good series against Revenge.
Hey, Revenge got a mean mug. He looks like you're just talking bad about my
say?
Gragas, right? What'd you say about my? Well, they played against each other all year long, though. Like, these guys are no strangers to facing off against each other. They're rivals for at least 4 matches of last split on a FlyQuest Academy and C9 Academy, so I think that they're very familiar with each other. There's not going to be a lot of 1v1 exploitations, and it's going to have to be about taking those advantages that their champions are inherent and taking them into team fights.
I mean, one of them we've heard to be LCS ready for some time. The other one, according to his interview, having a bit of a chip on his shoulder going into this lock-in tournament. It is time for us to get into Immortals versus Cloud9, though. Will Cloud9 slash the lifespan of these Immortals, or will they themselves fall into the dirt? We have Captain Flowers and Zale with the call.